Hey everyone, I promise this will be the last quickie before the Ace Files number 3. I just have to make this video as quick as possible because, good lord, I fucking love Turning Red. I understand that this is not a movie for everyone, and certainly this will not be on everyone's best Pixar movie list, but as a person who spent their developing years as a dorky, obnoxious teenage girl and has a very strict academic mom, this movie just speaks to my soul. So, what's this movie about? Well, Mei is a 13-year-old Chinese-Canadian dorky girl who was very close to her mother. She has a group of friends that was as dorky as her, and they were united by their mutual love of Fort Town. One day, Mei suddenly transformed into a fluffy giant red panda and she absolutely hated it, but it turns out that this was actually her ancestor's power that would be gifted to every female in the family lineage. The red panda transformation will occur every time she felt a strong emotion. Fluffy Panda might be cool, but having this power in the middle of Toronto while also being an awkward teenage girl going through a puberty might not be a feasible lifestyle, so thankfully there's a way to cure it. But what if Mei doesn't want to be cured? What if she loves being a red panda? Maybe it's Nutface. Maybe it's Maybelline. The rest of the movie is pretty much discovering Mei's true self with her besties tagging along. Yeah, it might not be the most groundbreaking plot ever. It's very simplistic and predictable, but I don't mind predictability in movies. What I mind is the journey, and what an absolute journey it was. Mei is probably the most realistic depiction of a 13-year-old girl in animated movies, period. She's dorky, she's ambitious, she's cringe, she's thirsty, she's an absolute mess, and that's exactly how I felt when I was her age. It's just so refreshing to see a teenage girl in mainstream animated movies being this unapologetically girly and loud. Mei is pretty much me, except replace her Fort Town obsession with stinky smelly British cartoon men. And maybe real life men as well.
Ugh, he looks like a hobo.
A hot hobo.
Her anime drawings are also equally realistic, like, come on, this is a universal 13-year-old girl art style. 10 out of 10 props for research. Outside of her dorkiness, she's also very close to her mom. Maybe too close, because her mom can be very controlling, which also is a topic that hits very close to home to me. She was expected to have an A+ grade in every single subject and immediately got worried when she came home a little bit late, and also very cautious when she went through some changes, whether it's a minor change or major one. Many of the conversations Mei had with her mother Ming was also a conversation that I have with my mom. Like, for example, this scene right here.
How was school today?
Killed it per usual. Check it out.
Oh, that's my little scholar. Today, honor student. Tomorrow, UN Secretary General.
Oh my god, I think my mom said that all the time whenever I finish my middle school midterm. Ming certainly isn't a perfect mother. As I said, she was very controlling of Mei, but ultimately, her heart is in the right place. She loves her daughter and willing to go through such length to protect her. It's just that her way of trying to be this perfect mother is a result of a generational trauma. Not an excuse, but an explanation for her actions. I love this depiction of mothers in animated movies a lot because, let's face it, real-life mothers are not just a binary. They're not just either a complete angel from heaven or an evil, smirking, abusive villain. It's a whole spectrum. They are still human beings in the end. Sometimes their actions are wrong, but if they are willing to learn from their mistakes and grow as a person, the genuine happy memories and bond they shared with their child aren't gonna be instantly invalid. My mom isn't perfect. We argued sometimes, especially during middle school, but I know from heart that she loved me and just wanted the best for my future. The same goes for Ming, but my mom isn't as strict as Ming. She still lets me to love gorillas as long as I don't play it in her car, unlike Ming with Fort Town, and she certainly never found out the horror of my sketchbook. She also lets me to see a Gorillaz concert. If I had one in my country. Mei's friends are also very dorky and cute and had such distinct personalities. Miriam is the closest to Mei. She understood her the most and would be the first one to comfort her. Priya is the deadpan one, but she doesn't reject femininity like the usual deadpan characters. She loves Toronto's version of Twilight and loves Fort Town just as much as her friends. She's also very gay, but sadly her scenes are possibly toned down since it was confirmed that the upper hand at Disney censored LGBTQ+ scenes in Pixar movies. Fuck you, Chapek, but at the very least, it was pretty clear that Priya has a crush on this goth girl. Very refined taste, by the way. And last but certainly not least is Abby. She's the definition of chaotic good. She loves her friends aggressively, and she always has one of the best lines in the entire movie.
Mine called it stripper music. What's wrong with that?
These dorks are so fucking goofy and thirsty as hell. Yet again, such a realistic take on teenage girls. Me and my middle school friends used to quote-unquote fish on boys just like what Miriam and May did. Only difference is that we would just giggle and run away if one of them noticed. Secretly searching for a random cute guy on convenience store was also something we did a lot because 13 years old are cringe, but the way this movie depicted it made me miss that era. It was such a simpler time. But them being thirsty are obviously not why I love them so much. The main reason is that they all have good chemistry. I love seeing them together on screen, they're hilarious, and I love their various themes such as coming up with a capitalist Disneyland-esque plan to raise money to go to a concert and, in general, being an assembly of besties. The star of the movie outside of the characters is definitely the comedy. This is, in my opinion, the funniest Pixar movie to date. Okay, maybe the second funniest after Ratatouille, but I laughed a lot in this movie. The scene where Ming showed this poor minimum wage worker a goddamn anime mermaid version of him is so hilarious. I mean, I'm embarrassed for May. This is my worst fucking nightmare. But the cringeness is why it was so funny to me. I feel like the best way to describe the humor is that imagine a channel dedicated to make fun of DeviantART's drawings, which would be toxic and bad, but instead of making fun of other people's art, they would just show their old art when they were 13 and laugh at it, while also at the same time appreciating the culture that the community had around the time and how much it meant to them. Point is, this scene is top-notch and the humor of the movie hits close to home to me as a DeviantArt refugee. They also got away with a lot with this movie, like Ming mentioned drugs, Abby mentioned stripper, multiple mentions of crap, and obviously the period talk. Not gonna lie, if John Lasseter was still around, he would totally cut all those period references. I really like that the punchline is not, ooh, period is gross and taboo. Everyone is pretty casual about it actually, including May's friends as Priya over her pads. Ming was also very supportive of May. She brought her extra snack and herbal tea for her cramps and even prepared an entire emergency period kit. Ibuprofen, vitamins, and so much kinds of pads. You get it. I'm so happy to see period talked about as a thing that just happens to a woman and not a gross out joke or something that characters pointed out when a woman is being too angry or whatever. Also, the scene where Ming brought May pads to school hits way too close to home, even more secondhand embarrassment for me. But at the same time, I wish we lived in this utopian world where it's okay to talk about period and pads publicly, you know? In middle school and high school, pads are like a very secret weapon forbidden for boys to see or hear, and we would often give it various pseudonym like Japanese bun, for example. It's that taboo. Hopefully Pixar could break that stupid barrier. So yeah, I love Turning Red a lot, but is this a perfect movie? Of course not. This is getting into spoiler territory, so skip into these timestamps, but I wish we saw Ming's first red panda transformation in a flashback. I really want to see Young Jin as well. There's gotta be a reason why she destroyed half the temple just to keep him. I mean, we know that he's a wholesome dad and an amazing cook, but I want to see it from Ming's perspective as a teenage girl. After May was picked up by her mom after causing a ruckus in Tyler's birthday, the screen pitched to black and immediately went into the ritual day, which sucks because it just made May's argument with Miriam in the concert less impactful. Miriam was May's testmate. I don't think it would make the movie too long if we see some glimpses of Miriam avoiding May in school and how both of them felt about it. Also, we should have seen Tyler genuinely apologizing to May. I think Tyler being besties with May's squad in the end is not unrealistic at all, but one of the stuff he said could be considered microaggression if you ask me. I'm sure he apologized in between the kaiju panda destruction and the end of the movie, but would have been better if we also see it, you know? as a side note, I don't hate Tyler at all. Quite the opposite actually, because one of my friends back in grade school and high school is exactly like Tyler, except without the mean part, and it's just so funny to me. This movie is just so relatable, you guys. Also, Tyler would totally be live tweeting Euphoria Season 2, let's not lie here. But all those flaws aren't enough to completely ruin the movie for me. Turning Red came from a personal place that I deeply relate to, and it's very hard to hate. I'm not a diaspora, but all the emotional struggles and joy that happened to May is quite universal to a 13-year-old girl, especially in the age of fandoms. It's not a surprise to know that Domee Shi, the director of this movie, is also a goddamn nerd back in the days, and I love her for it. The documentary Embrace the Panda is very interesting, but the part that I love the most is when they showed her old fan art, and wow, it just screams mid-2000 DeviantArt and anime-obsessed dork. She even had a Haruhi fan art, which is an essential ingredient to become the ultimate 2000s anime fan, as we all know. I wonder if she survived Endless 8 though. Her DeviantArt is still up to this day, and reading the description of the deviation will guarantee to bring you back in time. Knowing this context just made me love Turning Red more. It's clear that Domee and her crew made May and her friends the way they were, out of fondness for their past and not hatred. From May's dorky attitude to tiny details like her anime drawings, it all felt so authentic. They're not just making fun of it, they embraced it and pretty much said, hey, it's okay to be cringe at this age. We were too, and we know it's hard, but you're not alone and we're rooting for you. It sucks to see that her work became a part of the dumb culture war before it was released, but I'm so happy that currently the discourse is bubbling down and people are loving the movie. To be fair, this movie isn't for everyone. I can see why some people, mostly cis men, would feel so disconnected with this movie because the jokes and the experiences were so unapologetically girly and dorky. The main meat of this movie is the comedy and the theme, and if you don't like or relate to those aspects, it might be hard to find something to feast on. And it's okay as long as you're not being toxic about it. But for me, and I'm sure a lot of people, this movie represents a part of us in the past that we tried to bury out of shame and frame it as something positive and integral to our identity, no matter how messy it is. And I think that's very admirable. When I was 13, I watched Inside Out on theater with my friends, and I bawled my eyes out when Riley finally released her sadness after holding it out for so long. This is the first time I saw a teenage girl around my age in animated movies having similar struggles to mine, being forced to hide your quote-unquote bad emotion during big changes in life in order to meet society's expectation of a normal, nice teenage girl. It just hits right at home. My friends were about to cry too, but then they saw me and laughed instead, but that's not the point, okay? I pretend I do not see it. But the main character of Inside Out is not Riley, it's joy and sadness. They're good protagonists, don't get me wrong, but seeing May being an ultimate mess by just being herself and not some external force would be even more relatable and meaningful to me as a teenager struggling to find her identity. And I would have cried even harder because even at this age, I still cried watching this and my right eye is swollen now. The power of Pixar, I swear. So yeah, this movie is great and comfy and I love it and you should check it out. If I had to give an arbitrary score, I guess 8 out of 10, but has a special place in my heart. Thank you Domee Shi and crew for making such a personal movie that means so much to me and a lot of people. See you next time, bye bye for now.